How do we look?
I think great.
Awesome.
Yeah, things look good.
How's my jersey look?
It's wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think you're representing the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
The king.
I know, man.
My king.
Sad.
Yes.
Super sad.
Wait, are you talking about Kobe?
Yeah, dude. No, this is your
LeBron.
bro. That's your LeBron.
Yeah.
jersey.
No, Kobe's sad that he died, but not a great basketball player.
Wow. You think that?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do an entire podcast on LeBron?
I don't personally. It sounds like you do.
Oh, dude, I could go. Yeah, Kobe was.
This would be a one-sided conversation.
Kobe was competitive. You got to love him for his competitive and his drive. Kobe was one of the most inefficient players out there.
Like, what do you mean?
Like he shot 25, 30 times a game. I don't know if he ever shot over 43 or 44% in a year, which LeBron is consistently over 50%. I mean, there's been years that he's been close to 60%.
That's crazy.
So LeBron's shooting 20 times a game, not even. LeBron probably shot 18 times a game this year and as averaging more points than Kobe would. There's one year that Kobe averaged like 30 something.
What was Michael's percentage?
Michael was efficient.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was great. I mean, it's
so hard to stack them up against each other.
I think it is, but like objectively, LeBron and I think Jordan are 1A, 1B. And you can flip flop that however you want. And I'm okay for some people saying Jordan's better than LeBron, but Kobe.
Yeah, it's not in the race.
Yeah, and anybody that says that like that Jordan is so much better than LeBron, I think they're off too.
Yeah, I think that's just an emotional connection to your player that you loved for so long. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean,
if you're older and you grew up with Jordan also has the whole Jordan brand behind him that makes people think that he was, but
he's the GOAT.
Yeah. He's the GOAT of marketing. He was the very first. I mean, did you watch Shoe Dog or whatever? What was that?
I thought it was
Ben Affleck.
There's another one.
Oh, Shoe Dog is the book, I think.
No, the Last Dance.
The Last Dance was the documentary. They just came out with a movie. It's phenomenal. Just a great. Yeah, Air. Yeah. Did you watch that?
Yes.
Yeah. Great movie.
So good.
That just shows like they put all of their eggs in one basket with Jordan and gave him his very first shoe line. And
that was pretty cool. That was fun to watch.
Great movie, great business movie, even if you don't like basketball. But then that is a part of what made Jordan. Yeah. And even though he was the best player in the NBA. I mean, until LeBron came along, he was the best player ever. Yeah. But I mean,
it's hard to, it's a hard one. You can't even say because they didn't play together. There's no way to know.
But you put this in the podcast for me because this is important. So Jordan never won anything until he had Scottie Pippen. He was one and done in the playoffs. And then he got Scottie Pippen. He was surrounded by some great players. Steve Kerr was one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. Dennis Rodman, best defense, rebound. Like Phil Jackson, best coach.
He put together a pretty sick team.
Yeah, they were amazing. And so when he left, he had his three-peat, and then he left. The next year, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think they won 56 games. So he had even when he wasn't on the team, and
they still crushed.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen was an MVP candidate that year. And when LeBron left the Cavs, the next year they were the worst team in the history of the NBA. And I think they won like 16 games that year.
Maybe got it. So he literally carried them.
Oh yeah. He took Smush Parker. No. Yeah. And he was taking Tony Dellavedova. This is when LeBron won against Golden State. They were 73-9, and he took Tony Dellavedova and won a championship with him. LeBron can carry a team. And you just never know because Jordan always had a team around him until he went to the Wizards, but he was also old at that time.
He was also such a great leader, though. He created a culture on the team with Chicago. Like you see a lot of the documentary stuff. People were like, he created a fire in us to like bring our excellence to the table. Because a lot of that, you look at why was Scottie Pippen so good? Why were those guys good? He created a leadership environment where they started taking huge ownership over their role on the team.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that with like Jordan that was incredible is, who was it? Somebody said that like he would beat his mom, for $1 or something, not beat his mom, like beat his mom in a bad, like, not beat his mom.
So competitive.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if he's playing in a pickup game. Like I've seen pickup games of him down in like, Cancun or Mexico, just with some random guys, and he's going all out and working them and talking trash. Like he's 100% all the time. And so he brought that level of intensity to every single practice, to every single,
which that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Honestly, if you've been around people like that, like, I love it. It is so fun being around people that are 100% all the time.
Yeah. I don't.
You don't?
No, I think they're douchebags and they don't love their life. I get why they're successful.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm not going to trust them to babysit my kids. Yeah. They're not going to be the person that like we have, really nice
get together. I agree what you're saying.
But in the environment of like, okay, we're building towards a vision or like where we want to build something. When it comes to like vision casting or like motivation, I really like being around those people. Yeah. It challenges something in me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this whole story of, John Mark Comer, he writes in his book, and I'm more on like the John Mark Comer side, but in Ruthless Elimination from a Hurry, he tells this story about how he wakes up every morning and he sits down and he has a cup of coffee on his patio overlooking a street and reads his Bible. And he lives in somewhere in Oregon, like next to the Nike, like their headquarters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he lives across the street from a house full of Nike sponsored athletes. And so he's like, every morning I'm sitting there and I'm drinking my cup of coffee and I'm watching these athletes run hill sprints right next to my house, and they're jacked and they're chiseled and they're cut up. And he's like, I always think I would like to be like that. I would love to do that. And then he said, but then really quickly I realized for me to look like that, I would have to give up this, and that's not worth it to him. And so like you see that in the business world all the time, where like some of the best business owners that I know are those people that are 100%.
Terrible husband.
Yes.
Terrible father.
Which Michael Jordan was both of those.
Yeah. Yes. Terrible friend.
Gambler. Not a good friend. He doesn't have, if you watch The Last Dance, he doesn't have any close friends.
Yes.
But when he was on, he's 100% in on everything that he does.
Well, like Alex Hormozi, I have crazy respect and love for him. I know him because my brother and I worked for him when we were his first employees at Gym Launch.
Yeah.
And he's a nihilist. He believes that we're all just vapor.
Yeah.
That when your life is done, everything's done. And it's like, and he's had full, videos talking about how he's like, F happiness.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be trained in my mindsets and like heart by a person like that.
No.
Maybe in my business practices and some of the skills. But at the same time, like you're saying, if I fully emulate that person, I'm going to be like them, and I'm going to have the pros and cons that person carries.
Mm-hmm. And the pros is you're going to be an incredible business leader. You're going to be one of the best basketball players of all time. You're going to, like, if you have that drive and that intensity, there's a ton of pros, but then the cons come with it where, and I'm not saying I don't know Hormozi at all, but
right.
With Jordan, like he doesn't have great relationships.
Is that legacy worth it?
To me, no.
Right.
That's where I go back to the whole John Mark Comer thing, where it's like, hey, I'm not saying I could be a billionaire, but I could try to, but that's not worth it because of I know what it takes to.
How many relationships are you willing to burn to get there? And how much of your soul are you willing to trade?
A lot. Or I'm not willing. I'm not willing to put in a lot, but
my soul.
I'm not willing to do it at all. That's why
you have to be willing. Yeah.
That's why I'm like I'm very comfortable where I'm at in life and happy and there's that what that law of diminishing returns where I think where we're at right now, like we are in the sweet spot where we make enough money to do anything that we want. Not anything that we want. Like I don't fly first class. I don't have a private jet. Like, but
you don't fly first class?
No.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money.
It's a lot of money to do that. Still, I watch people that are making like 400 grand a year fly first class. And I'm like, why?
Yes.
Well, I'm like, that's not that 400 grand a year is not that much
Dude.
when you're flying first class.
Oh no. I remember I flew first class once. And we make over 7 figures and,
Yeah. Yep.
our, and our net worth is well over 8 figures. I flew first class once because I just thought that it was cool. And I was so excited for it. And I remember we could have bought, I think it was Lexi and we could have bought the tickets for like $400 a piece, round trip. So it would have been 800 total. And I ended up spending like $4,200 on the tickets. So 4 or 5, whatever that is, 6 times as much on first class tickets. And, we got done flying there on the first class, the one way. And I remember getting off the plane and I was like, that didn't fulfill me like I wanted it to.
No, you're like a little more leg room.
Yeah. All I thought about for the rest of the week was, man, that $3,000 that extra $3,000.
Could I have spent that on?
Yes, I could have done actually more than that. Yeah. $3,600 that I spent, the extra $3,600, could have done so many cool things with that. I could have even just given it away. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like
so better.
You're talking about, what does it take to be the best in a sport or in a business or whatever? It's the same with money. And like you could make a lot of resource, but still every time you put, even if you have $1 million a year you're making, you put a portion of that towards something. Well, that's a portion of that something you can't put towards something else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly my thought is like, okay, I could do 3 trips to places that I love, get a more epic hotel if I'm willing to be a little less comfortable on the flight there. Yeah.
And it was only a 3.5 hour flight. So it wasn't even that long. I think, every once in a while, like I think we're going to go to Europe this summer and
nice.
And we will fly first class there because it's an overnight trip and it's basically buying back a day.
Our first class tickets to Italy were about 10 grand.
Really? Yeah. So,
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I wouldn't fly first class, but it does buy back a day, where it's like, cause if you fly for, you're doing a 12-hour flight and
that's different.
Yeah. And you are in the back cramped up, you get sick, you get there and you're like, you need a day and a half to recover from the flight. Then all of a sudden it affects your trip.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense, but 5 hours or less, I can be fine in a seat.
So,
but I feel like this is kind of good segue into our topic today, because scaling a business, which we didn't hit on the granular stuff the last podcast.
Yes.
But scaling a business, growing a team, starting to transition out of different roles, hire people into different roles, scaling the real estate investing business, scaling any business. We can talk about some of that stuff. But I feel like that takes a certain type of vision, like we were talking about, that you have to want to be willing to go through, because that is a different skill to develop, scaling a business versus doing all the stuff yourself, being the person that wears 8 hats in the business, doing as much as you want of those things. But then when you start to hire, recruit, build a team, it's completely different skills you're having to learn. So, I think it'd be a fun.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
I say we get into it. So I guess like at what point did you start scaling the team past you and Lexi in the business?
We did it pretty quickly.
You did?
We did it. I want to say within 6 months.
Why'd you go so quickly?
Because going back to last week, we had a vision. Like we knew that we wanted to, I love St. Louis, to visit and to see my family. Don't want to live there. Yeah. And I don't want to raise my family there. And so we knew,
Maui is okay.
Yeah. Maui's I don't have to tell you why. Like it's just, it's better,
people can go Google pictures if they're like confused about it.
Google St. Louis and Google Maui, and you'll see why I wanted to live in Maui and not St. Louis. And so, so we had that goal from literally day one. I have a poster that we wrote when we first started, when we were moving from Denver to St. Louis to start real estate investing. And one of those things was we wanted to live in Maui. We wanted to make $100,000 in passive income. And I think we wanted to have a net worth of $3 million in 5 years. Those were our goals in 2019. And so we had that vision in mind already. So we knew, and I think that was helpful because we knew starting off, like, to live in Maui and to be able to do it well, we have to have a team in place. So so going back to last week where we talked about like having a vision of where you want to go in life is so important because we knew that we couldn't do it alone. And again, if somebody has the vision where it's like, I want it to be my wife and I, and not a ton of stress and not a ton of employees and just, work 20 hours a week and make $400,000, $500,000 a year flipping houses. That's so great.
That's a great life. You can't dog on that stuff. And I feel like there are so many voices right now shaming people for not scaling and growing.
Yes.
Like indirectly and directly. It's like, why don't you want to freaking grow? Like, you kidding me? It's like, that doesn't have to be your dream.
No.
At all. And you should actually create boundaries around what you want to do and actually protect that. If you don't want to scale and grow, like, don't go down that road. If you do, you need to have vision for a why. You need to understand there's going to be some difficulty learning new skills and hard stuff. But I do think it's really important to create that, I guess, separation between like what's good and versus like, what you can do on your own. Yeah.
Because you see on Instagram all the time, people talking about like, you need to scale your business, you need to do this, you need to, and I think,
all those people have an agenda.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, like one of my business coaches, he would say to me all the time, he said, you could do that, but I feel like you're going to be climbing
the wrong ladder,
or not the wrong ladder, or the ladder on the wrong wall, which is exact. Like if you watch an Instagram ad and see somebody talking about scaling a business and that's not what you want to do, then just don't do it. So going back, so vision is the first most important part. And then from there is working backwards. And so that's kind of what we did. And so for everybody that's watching this, like, you've got your vision, number one thing, you have to have that, and then work your way backwards. Okay. So I've got my vision. Now what do I need to do to make that attainable? Yeah. So that to me comes down to goals.
Yes.
And so like, if that's a 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, whatever, maybe you need to set goals around that. And so we in our business, and this is from EOS, and I think a lot of people have heard of this
90-day waterfalls.
Well, we do SMART goals. So really we do like 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, quarterly, but then like what daily habits do we need to hit the quarterly goal that will lead us to hitting our 1 year goal, that will lead us to hitting our 3-year goal, that will lead us to hitting our 5-year goal.
Yeah. Cause at the end of the day, all you have control over are your behaviors.
Yeah, exactly.
So you go, okay, what do we believe and hypothesize will lead to this 90-day? We're not attached to the result. It's our desired outcome. All we can control are the things we do.
Yes. And most often than not, when you do that, you're going to blow away your goals.
Yeah, 100%.
So for somebody that's scaling, you got your vision and then you got your goals. So SMART goals are specific. I think a lot of people will create goals like at the beginning of the new year, like, I want to get in better shape. What does that mean? Like, you don't know.
Define that.
Exactly.
You want to be a pear?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what kind of shape?
Exactly. Like what shape do you want to be in? And define that to like, I want to be 8% body fat, or I want to be 11% body fat, or I want to lose 40 pounds. Like there has to be a specific goal attached. So in real estate, like if I wanted to have $100,000 in passive income, or not passive, because it's semi-passive income.
Yeah. Leveraged.
Yeah. I would know that probably means that I would have to own 50 houses. So if this was a 5-year goal, so in 5 years, I want to own 50 houses. Okay. So then in 3 years, I want to own 30 houses, and 1 year, I want to own 10 houses, and so working your way backwards to get you to that goal. So that would be the specific. The second is measurable, which is similar to specific, where like, if you're on track or off track, because if in 1 year, your goal is to have 10 houses that will lead you to the 50 houses that you want in 5 years, and you're only at 8 houses, that's a very, like, I did not hit that goal. It's measurable.
Yeah.
Or like even working your way back to like I know that for every, let's just say that I want to buy 3 houses a quarter. If I'm trying 3 rental properties a quarter, if I'm trying to hit 10 houses a year, or that's 12 houses, but whatever. And I know that for every 20 offers I put in, I get one house, under contract that I close on. So that means that I have to be putting in 60 offers a quarter, which is essentially what a one offer every other day or something like that. So
yeah,
just having everything measurable. I think that's
good.
important.
It's so funny. I believe in all this stuff, and I'm like, I preach it. I talk about it. I'm like, I'm all for all this, but what's so funny is like, we never did this for our business.
Really?
Yeah. Like never did that. I literally just was like, okay, we're at 40,000 a month. I don't want to do sales anymore. We need to get other people to do it.
Yeah.
And there was never an option of not growing to as big as we possibly could.
Yeah. It's just,
so I'd say like, I just saw a vision for like, let's just get as big as we possibly can. And, and I think that led to all that stuff. So maybe that is vision, but it was so unclear that was like, Sammy and I can't keep doing sales like this. So we hired 5 salespeople, trained them up. It was like, whoa, we're at 200,000 a month. And then it's like, the stuff, I was like, we want more of that, so how can I get this bigger? That's kind of what happened for us. But then I started realizing like, this is a way better way to think what you're talking about, because now you're more like, no, something is pulling us, out here. I think for us, every time I wrote down vision of what I wanted the business to accomplish, like, hey, we're going to serve this many people and see this type of outcome. I was like, I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
I care about the impact we're making, and I care about growing income.
Yeah.
It was like those 2 simple things, but sometimes it feels difficult to figure out how to articulate what is your actual vision. And I think a lot of people feel guilty having that be money and opportunity.
Yeah.
And especially a lot of Christian people I talk to, they're like, it almost feels like that's vanity or something, just to dream up like, this is how much money we need to be producing. I want to be producing house, location, all those things. There's like a lot of guilt around it that limits people from actually dreaming up what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. And I think this is helpful for 2 reasons. One, like, yeah, if your vision is just to make as much money as possible, then go for it. I think it's helpful to realize sometimes when your vision isn't to make as much money as possible, then setting goals around that of, okay, well, what do I need to do to just hit where I want to go?
Yeah.
Some people are just 100% all in. I want to grow this. I want to grow this. But even then, there's a book, it's called Built to Last. And it talks, have you read that before?
I think I have. I've read a lot.
Basically, it talks about how the companies that stick around forever do it at a slow, attainable rate. They have a really great, they have great goals. They have great systems in place where you can grow a business. If it's just white knuckling it and going for it, you can grow a business really, really fast. But is that business going to last forever? Probably not, according to this book, Built to Last, where it's like, hey, the best business out there are the ones that have slow growth to success, and they're doing it in increments, and they're making sure that they're building the systems honestly before they build it. Because a lot of times, like, you see this happen in the church world, because I'm from the church world all the time, where these churches have this insane growth, and that's all they care about is like, we want to grow.
Yeah.
And they don't implement any sort of the community aspect of church, what church is really about. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, we've got 30,000 people coming on the weekends, but we've got, 1,200 people that are actually involved in small groups, or, and that's not a healthy church. And a lot of times you see those churches revert back to, not being a 30,000 person church anymore, where like some of the healthiest churches out there are the ones that have been around for 30 years and have grown over time. Like, it's been around.
No, this is great.
Like Life Church is an incredible church in Oklahoma. Craig Rochelle's the pastor. He's also an incredible leader.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. He's got an amazing business podcast. He's an incredible leader, and he did grow really, really fast, but he's done it in a healthy way where I think they started in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. So they've been around for 25 years, but they have incrementally grown, consistently over that. Instead of hey, we grew from 0 to 20,000 people in 5 years, they've grown 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Now they're 85,000. So but
fast is also relative, right? Like, so Amazon would be a company that grew fast, but it's also lasting.
Yeah.
But they could have probably grown faster. So like fast is relative to the speed you can grow at and the industry you're in, how disruptive the idea is of the business that you're running. So it's like some businesses, they just will grow fast because all of the right things are in place.
Yeah.
But you can set up systems and it could grow faster if you didn't set up the systems. You didn't keep building in a foundation for every level of growth you hit.
Yeah.
And it may grow faster, but than what it's currently doing, but it won't last.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like Amazon's going to be around forever. Incredible company. What I would say to that is that that's a unicorn. There's a unicorn and
Uber,
and it's disruptive. It's something that nobody has ever seen before.
Yeah.
Whereas why, social media, they've grown really fast because we've only had the technology for that in the last 10 years. It's something nobody's ever seen before.
It was the first version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's going to grow really, really fast. And there's going to be the unicorns that make it. And then we've never heard of 99.9% of the companies that try to do it because they're out of business now.
Yeah.
So there are going to be the Ubers, the Airbnbs, which might go out of business, the WeWorks, the Amazons.
There's a book called Category Kings.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great book on this subject. It's literally like you can become the king of your category and that you experience high growth, but it's because you're creating such disruption in a marketplace. But what you're saying is so true. It's like, there's even a proverb. It says like wealth gained hastily I can't remember the exact, it's like doesn't bless. I can't remember the exact proverb, but it's like right on the tip of my tongue. But it's like even Proverbs alludes to like not building wealth hastily.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? And it's probably because of all of these different things. One, that wealth will have power over you. Like how many times have it's like, I see this all the time. And I in a lot of like discipleship stuff that I've been involved in, I'm like, hey, be really careful to not get such good gifts from God that pull you away from recognizing the giver and letting it draw you into a closer relationship with him. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like that's what idolatry is. Like really is like, oh, I've become attached to this external thing outside of myself to save me. And when we do that, it's actually setting us up for like really shaky seasons in the future. Cause now all of a sudden that thing's going to go like this. It might go up and down. So if money is my source of provision and I have seasons where it's high or it's low, I'm going to be so emotionally controlled by either having it or not having it.
Yeah.
When the whole time I can go, God's so good. He gave it to me. Like, it's like, how cool is that I've always been provided for? This great resource has become such a gift versus I need more money. And all I'm thinking about is this thing, That makes sense?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
a little bit. That's fine.
It definitely does make sense where it's like, hey, especially like in the Christian world, if you're looking to the provider and not necessarily the gifts, then the gifts don't matter at the end of the day, where it's like, hey, I'm happy in sickness and in health. I'm happy, rich or poor. Like it does not matter. Which is definitely easier in theory to think through. But I completely get that and agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So being attached to that.
But back to like slow growth, I feel like there's different levels of like business that you kind of, and we talked about this with our business, is let's grow to this next level. When we're at that level, then we fortify. Yeah. Then once we fortified, then we go, what's the next stage of growth? Then you fortify there. Yeah. So it's like every time, like in conquests, military would take over a town or a city, fortify that town. Yeah. Then they'd move on to the next place. And I think, what's wise about that is you're now creating sustainability for the growth you've just accrued. And I feel like what that is in business is, okay, we're marketing sales heavy to get this growth. Then it might be, we need to really build up fulfillment and operations, but now we might be overly leveraged with our expenses at that place, but everything is like set up to be able to 5X growth after that. Yeah. Now we put more into marketing sales. Now we can grow even more. And it's like, and you keep doing movements like that to where you're kind of fortifying. And obviously real estate investing is a little bit different than just a business like that.
But real estate investing is, like, in my opinion, you're not disrupting anything. Like,
Right.
so like we're not the Amazons. And so then it is healthier it's healthier to grow slower and in real estate investing. And it may be like, that's different for everybody though. Like what is growing slow?
Right.
But in real estate investing, unless you have, which I don't have this, but unless you have this new process that nobody knows about of a way to get leads or to flip a house in 15 days or to, you're doing real estate investing has been around forever. Obviously there's new technologies and whatnot coming out, but it's been around for forever. And so you're not doing anything that somebody else hasn't already done.
Sure.
And so I don't think you can scale quickly, but I don't expect to go from 0 to 100 million,
Okay. That makes sense. Cause I'd say a lot of people in real estate investing would look at your progress and say, well, you grew pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
But I guess that's why I would say it's totally, it's like relative.
It's relative. Yeah.
So for you could have probably done way faster maybe.
I think we could have. I think there's some things that we did that I don't regret any of it, but we definitely sold a lot of houses at the beginning that I would have loved to have kept for rentals, but we needed the income.
Yeah.
So we wholesaled or flipped a lot of properties that I'm like, man, it would have been so great to keep those, especially in 2020 and 2021 that have gone up 50% in value since then, where it's like we probably sold 100 of those that
crazy
we could have kept. And I wanted the income. And then interest rates went up and I locked in at 4% on a lot of those. And I'm like, if I could have those at 4%, they've gone up 50% or more in value. That would have been amazing, but that didn't happen. So like, there are some things that we could have done to have been better, but I don't regret anything. And we did grow pretty fast. And so for us, let's go back to like the scaling section.
I know,
so,
like the actual tangibles.
So vision, we set goals surrounding that vision of like, what does that look like? And then and this is not something that I came up with. This was literally a business coach that was helping us through this entire process. But we started documenting every single thing that we did throughout the day.
Nice.
So if I was, running numbers on a house, I would run numbers on a house and I would document, like spent 30 minutes analyzing deals. If I was driving, to go walk a house, I would literally, when I got home, I'd think through, well, I spent 30 minutes there. I spent an hour at the property, walking the house, connecting with the seller, and then 30 minutes driving back home. And so just documenting everything throughout our day. And that was really important. Cause we would kind of have these meetings where we would just look at our days and say, hey, what are things that we can cut out? What are things that we can hire out? And what are the things that we have to do to keep the business moving? And I think I'm probably doing a bad job of explaining this, but one of the things was that I thought through a lot is like, what do I have to do? And then what do I want to do as well? Because there are things as a business owner that you just have to do. Even if you don't like it, you have to do it. And then
it's everything in the beginning.
Yeah, everything in the beginning.
Literally everything you have to do.
Yeah. And so and in the beginning, like when you do this, it just is helpful to see everything that you have going on. And then you can pick and choose where it's like, hey, I'm spending 10 hours a week just on the back end, so like on finances or, writing contracts, doing things that aren't really like, I think finance is a high dollar activity, but writing a contract or just connecting with the title company over and over again. Are we good for closing? Are we good for closing? What do you need? Like those are things that I can outsource to honestly a VA for $8 an hour. That's going to buy me back 5 or 6 hours a week. Like Lexi, for instance, on the property management side of things, where, we're listing a house and we're getting 20 applications to rent it out. And then she's spending a couple hours on every single person that puts in an application, and she's doing their background check, connecting, looking at their income to make sure the income verification is good. She's connecting with their old landlord. She's connecting with where they work to make sure that they really work where they work. And then she's creeping on them on social media just to make sure that everything works for them, that they're a good tenant for our property.
Yeah.
And she's spending hours and hours doing that on every single house. And none of those are activities that bring in a lot of income. It does, but it doesn't.
Or joy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it brings in a lot of income because those are renting out our houses. And I mean, it all works together, but those are something that you can hire out for $8 an hour.
Yeah.
To where she can focus on higher income producing activities. Same with me. Like one of the things that if we were still in Missouri and I was still doing acquisitions, that I would have hired out, and this sounds really corny, but I would have hired out a driver because I was spending six to 7 hours a day in the car.
So you could do a lot of your work while somebody else is driving.
Exactly. So I would have been able to analyze deals. I'd have been able to make calls. I would have been able to find deals. So it would have bought me back literally 6 or 7 hours a day. I could have paid somebody $50,000 a year to drive me around.
Super smart.
And it just would have felt weird pulling up to a house and having a driver. That's the corny part about it. Like, this is my driver. That would have felt weird. I probably would not have introduced them as my driver, but
no, you would have introduced them to something completely different.
This is my chauffeur. I would not have, but it would have bought me back 6-7 hours a day. Which then I know that I could have made that back over time. That was an area in my life where I'm like, hey, I can buy back 6-7 hours of my time every single day, like 30 hours a week of my time. Then I can focus on higher income producing activities. And so I think thinking that through is really, really important and super helpful. Is like, what are your highest, like what produces the most income for you? And for a lot of people in real estate, that's going to be finding deals. And so to be able,
you do have to I do think this is so important to like slow down for a moment, because I think so many people are just like, these are all the things I have to do. Mm-hmm. It's like, no. You have to categorize your tasks in highest money making to the lowest. And the moment you have the ability to hire out $8 an hour, $20 an hour for us work to do it. So that you can do more of the high dollar stuff. This is if you're wanting to scale. You need to be able to spend more, because like, okay, if I got 3 hours a day back to do more deal finding, could I find another deal or two per week?
Yeah.
But I think so many people aren't doing it like well enough that it's like, if I got more time back, I wouldn't even know, like it wouldn't even produce more deals unless I had the skill first.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like if I can't throw a basketball into a hoop, I've never done it before, and then you give me an extra 5 hours a day to put it in there, it's going to take time for me to even learn the skill. Yeah,
but you would get better.
You get better, yes. Yeah. But you still need to know how to do it.
You still need to know how to do it.
Maybe that's a bad example because shooting a basketball is so easy.
Yeah, but even with deals, like it's the same. I mean, you're only going to get better through repetition. And the only way you get more repetition is having more time to do it. So
I had a guy that I was talking to, and he's gone to like hundreds of auctions and just finally got his first deal. And I'm like, why are you only going to auctions? Like, have you tried this, or this? And he's like, well, no. So, I mean, like if that guy got more time back, he'd go to more auctions. Yes. And it's like, okay, so you're still going to inefficiently find deals if you had more time.
So you would need to know how to, like, some of the aspects of finding deals, but even then opening up more time, you could learn those aspects.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And so finding deals is going to probably be most people's like highest and best use. And I think a lot of people, you can outsource. There are so many things that you can outsource within your business via VAs that I think that a lot of people don't think about. And so outsourcing VAs, I think that also a lot of people, a lot of the things that you're going to outsource are, you know, the small jobs that might add up to 5 to 10 hours a week, where I think a lot of people could also hire somebody quicker, rather than slower, is the project management position.
Can I just ask, when did you get your business coach?
We've had one since day one.
Since day one.
Yeah.
I this is going to be a shameless plug for like everything you're doing with Deal Flow. And so guys, if you're hearing me say this, like it sounds like I'm plugging. It's only because I don't care who it is. We grew our business because we got coaches and mentors to show us how to do things, because you do it way faster than trying to figure it out all on your own. Yeah. All out on your own. You had a coach since day one. Whether you trust us to do it or someone else, or you trust Cameron to help you or someone else, you need to have somebody above you showing you how to do things. Yeah, for sure. I think that's just good. That is like the least talked about hire that I think you need to make first. Yeah, I guess that was a hire. It's a hire. You're hiring someone. Yeah. So that was our very first hire. It would be a coach. Actually, multiple coaches. Before we ever hired anybody in our business, we had multiple coaches we had a business coach that was actually helping us like grow the business. Yeah. And then we also had a real estate coach that was teaching me like the
the fundamentals of investing in real estate,
dude,
before we ever hired our first employee.
That's like when we were in the emotional health space. That's why we constantly it's not the only reason, but there was an accountability to get more counseling, coaching, therapy ourselves.
Yeah.
So that we can give away true, authentic like health that we were experiencing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are like, you're going to hit a ceiling way quicker than you think if you don't have somebody pouring into you.
Yeah. If you
knowledge, skills.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
No, I just was going to say, like, if you truly want to scale, you do have to have a coach.
You have to.
There's no doubt. What I envision a coach like, and this was actually his pitch that got me to invest. But he was like, hey, he's like, you could do it on your own. He's like, you could 100% do it on your own. You have enough drive, enough ambition, you're high enough capacity to be able to do this all on your own.
Yeah.
What I am is I'm a microwave where it's like I'm going to make this heat up or grow way faster than if you do it with me than without me.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like, that's so true that he has helped us be able to think through things at a bigger picture. He's coached he's coached businesses that have done exactly what I've done and been where I've been and scaled it the way that I want to scale. And so was super helpful, like just
That's awesome.
Working with him. And then same with real estate. Like, you can figure out, like, on the real estate coaching side and the real estate space,
1 million podcasts and books out there,
and you can figure it out. But at the same time, like, real estate coaching is a microwave where it's, I've walked thousands of houses and I've bought hundreds of houses. And so I know what I'm doing, and I know how to interact with sellers, and I know how to talk to sellers, and I know how to, I feel like, do it ethically and morally. And so then to have somebody like me or not me, let's get me out of the equation.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be a pitch.
To turn into a pitch. Yeah.
But
sure.
To have somebody out there that is able to help you with that, it's going to scale your business so much. And you're going to see such a high ROI on that, because I think that's another thing that you have to think through when you're hiring somebody is what's the ROI like? And sometimes that's really easy to see, and sometimes that's tougher to see.
Or it's indirect.
Yeah, it's indirect.
Like you were just saying, okay, there may not be an ROI with this admin person, but there is an ROI on me getting my time back because of the admin person.
Yeah.
Then there's other, like, even more indirect, ways that it correlates.
Yeah. So, like, our business coach was around, it was $2,500 a month. So whatever that is, is that $17,000 a year? $17,000 a year, which is a lot of freaking money, especially
at first.
Yeah, don't have a ton of money. But at the same time, like, there's no way we would be where we are right now, living in Maui, making what we're making without some of the systems and processes that he helped create. Same with our real estate coach. We were spending $1,000 a month on real estate coaching, and there's no way that I would have known what to do and how to do it as quickly as I did if I hadn't done that. And then for the real estate coach, I think that's a lot easier to determine the ROI on, because it's like, if I use these tactics to buy one house,
you've already made it back.
Yeah. And then everything else is just a cherry on top. And so real estate coaching is actually a lot easier for me to stomach, especially at the beginning, than a business coach, because there's a very direct ROI. But
I paid $60,000 a year for one of my coaches, and I did. It was all group. I didn't even meet with this guy, and I still got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I was thankful I did it, but I think it's because I learned so many things at the stage I needed those things. It's like we were at like $300,000, $400,000 a month. I'm like, how am I going to get to $500,000 or $1 million a year with the knowledge I have? I don't have it.
Yeah.
And every book I found, there was nothing granular enough to help me with, like, what are the next things I do or I need to have as a leader to get to that stage. I'm like, I can't find it. But at this stage of revenue, I can justify $5,000 a month to get those things from the right place. If I solve one problem that makes us an extra $20,000 a month, I have 4x'd my investment right there.
Exactly.
So you have to do that math in your head. And at first, people are so not willing to invest in those things because the money is not there yet. They're like, I'm taking away from, it's like, yeah. You're going to have to do that your whole existence in business. Right now, you're just the poorest you're ever going to be. Yeah. And so it hurts the most.
Yeah. So I just talked with somebody the other day, and they're on pace to make about $200,000 this year.
Okay.
In their one-man show. So they project management, find the deals. And so I think that they can afford a project manager at this point. And now project manager is going to cost $80,000 a year. So that's going to take their income from 200 down to 120 a year. And so they're looking at it from that angle where it's like, well, now I have to reduce like my living expenses, or, you know, they've gotten used to making $200,000 a year down to 120. And I think that's such a flawed logic, because kind of what I told them is I took them through this. So let's just talk about the time that you're spending. How much time a week are you finding deals? It's like, really right now it's probably 10 hours a week, because I'm spending the other 30 hours a week managing the projects that we have going on.
Dang.
And so if you hired on a project manager and you were able to buy back, let's say you still had to somewhat manage that project manager, but you had to do that for 5 hours a week. So now you're able to buy back 25 hours a week of your time to devote to finding deals. And
that's a 3x.
Yeah.
On deal flow that they can.
Exactly. And so, like, do you think that you could make an extra $75,000 a year, $80,000 a year by having an extra 25 hours a week to commit to finding deals? And he's like, yes. I mean, if you just look at it the way that he's doing right now, where he would 3x that. So he's making $200,000 a year off of 10 hours a week deal. So, I mean, he could legitimately make an $800,000 a year if he just focused on deal flow.
Yeah.
And now he's, you know,
minus the 80,000 or whatever.
So it's addition by subtraction, I guess, is that the right way to put it? Where it's like, hey,
it's front loaded expense.
Yeah. And one of a guy that I was talking to, he explained it really well to me one time when I was going through a lot of this, where I was like, we're hiring on people, we're spending more money on marketing, got more operational expenses. And he explained it to me. Sometimes when you go through that phase, he talked about like Hell Week, and was it the SEALs that do it or something? He's like, that's what a lot of businesses have to go through to make it out on the other side, is where you do have to sometimes spend money that you're not making, and or you are making, but you have to decrease your take home. Yeah. And it's tough. And you honestly are bringing on new people that you have to train and that you have to manage, and it creates more work for you in this short amount of time. But once you make it through that, like, you are golden. So it's a slingshot, where it's like, sometimes you have to pull back to go forward.
That's great. Great analogy.
So
I literally, this is like the only thing I'll say around this to add to the pot is my mentor. He, like, years and years and years ago, well, one of my mentors in business, years and years ago, he goes, he's like, yeah, I was talking to my mentor and I was like, gosh, $60,000 in taxes I have to pay right now. And he goes, isn't it going to be awesome the day that you have to pay $1 million in taxes?
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, what? And he's like, he's like, it just helped me reframe. Mm-hmm. Like, you can afford huge expenses when you have the ability to. Yeah. And that's exciting, because how much are you making when you're paying that much? Yeah. And I think that's it, is like, okay, you hire these people. Yeah, it's front loaded. If you can just make enough, if you can still make money when you're hiring these people, you're in the clear. But you do have to have a lever you can control, which is why deal flow is so important. Is like, if I hire out this person, I need to know that I can now grab that lever with my extra 25 hours and turn it up. Because if you have no lever you can control, you might as well be just wasting $85,000 a year. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Because if you're hiring on somebody and you can't bring in more deals, you're throwing that money away. Yeah, it's a waste.
And another thing that I think that is really valuable with VAs, with anybody that you hire, and we never want to do this, and we haven't done this, but a lot of times people view that as a forever thing. And I'm such a firm believer, and I think it's Warren Buffett that said this. He said, like, if there's any decision that you can make that you think will work, and you can reverse that decision within a couple of months, like, make that decision. Good. Yeah. If it's going to take years to reverse, then obviously think through it. Yeah. So with hiring somebody, for instance, you can reverse that really quick.
You can fire them.
Yes. You don't want to.
You're not committed to that person for a year.
Yeah. But you don't want to, but you can reverse that decision really quick. And it's not going to take years to reverse that.
Right.
Like now, if you're bringing on somebody with an ownership in your company, or you're like buying houses, rental properties with somebody, now you're married to that person and you can't reverse that in 2 months. So that's where you think through it. But if you're bringing on somebody onto your team, you can reverse that decision like that. And so if in 6 months it doesn't work out, we don't want this to happen. But if in 6 months it doesn't work out, you can reverse that decision and let them go.
I have this perspective too. When you're hiring your first big hire, like have a conversation with your spouse, plan that the moment you hire that person, I'm going to do whatever it takes in the next 30 days to make sure that I have the ability to make back my income.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm giving myself a 30-day window to test this hypothesis. If I have another 30, 40 hours a week, can I at least double my deal flow if I did that? If it's true, I'm going to find out in 30 days because that's enough time to be able to get more deals, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think let's talk about a project manager position. I think you need more time than that because it would take time to train that person up.
Yeah.
So I think you have to keep that in mind where maybe with a salesperson like on the phone or something like that, you could figure that out really quick. But the project manager, you do need to take time. You got to give them a fair shot where it's like, I got to train this person up. And then once that person's trained, are they able to handle their responsibilities? And am I able to go find more deals? If not, if you're still spending 20 hours a week with that project manager that you've just hired to get deals done or to get projects done, then it doesn't make sense because you're not buying yourself that time back. But
I guess in this scenario, my thought would be, okay, hey, spouse, can, for the next 30 to 60 days, I'm gonna have to train this guy, but I also want to put a lot of time into deal flow to make this expense make as much sense as fast as possible. I'm going to spend this many hours a day training the person, but I'm also going to try and keep my same responsibilities of, this and this and increase deal flow. 30 days. Can I have a 30-day sprint?
Yeah.
To be able to do that and the things I've been doing to make it make sense. It's like, that's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if we're putting all of our money into this, I want to make the investment as fast as possible, knowing that, okay, we're going to have that runway, like right into like where project management is taken care of. I have a lot more time back and deal flow is like already increased.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I like that. I think that's important. Where you do want to make your investment back as quick as possible, which a lot of times that's 1 or 2 deals. So like if you can buy 2 extra houses that month, then you have paid for your project manager for the year.
So awesome.
And so that's something that we look at in our business all the time is like hiring this person. For instance, let's go acquisitions. An acquisitions person, let's say they make $70,000 a year. Just for fun. Actually, we pay ours commission, but let's just use a salary just for fun.
Yeah.
They're making $70,000 a year. Let's say every flip that we do, let's just say that we're at probably $24,000 in profit on every deal. And I don't know the exact number, but that's including wholesales and flips. So flips are going to be well over 30,000. Wholesales are typically under 20,000. We did just get a $25,000 one today though.
Oh yeah.
Huge win.
It's awesome.
But, so that would take 3 houses for them to essentially pay for themselves. And then everything after that is just icing on top. Is
That's
that the right
awesome.
way to say it?
Yeah.
Cherry on top.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Everything else after. So can an acquisition manager buy more than 3 houses a year? The answer is yes. They should, or they wouldn't work for us.
Especially if they know your process for how to do it.
Yeah. So
and they have the skills.
If they can go out and buy 15 houses, then all of a sudden we've taken that $70,000 investment and turned it into a $350,000, $400,000.
That's
profit.
awesome.
So just thinking through things those ways is so important. Now, the one thing that we haven't talked about, and I know that we're running out of time, is scaling does suck because you have to manage people. So it's no longer you anymore where you are doing everything. And so you just have to keep that in mind when you're hiring. Like you are managing people. You're managing people's personalities, their work ethic, their capacity, their character, their culture. And so when we hire somebody, we're looking at the 4 C's. So the very first thing that we're looking at is character. If you don't
Mhm.
have character, you are not going to be in our business.
Yeah.
The second,
Competency.
capacity. Yeah,
Capacity.
capacity.
Cool.
Second would be capacity.
Okay.
So if you meet character and you meet capacity, we'll probably hire you. I'd love for you to hit all 4 C's, but
Yeah.
Character is number 1, capacity is number 2. And then these kind of both are the same thing. But culture, like, do you fit our company culture, and chemistry?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but the thing is like when I say culture and chemistry, sometimes like you've met the people before where it's like, they're a blast to hang out with. They're fun. They're energetic. They've got great, they can bring a lot to the culture. We've got great chemistry. Or like, I'd love that person. I'd go grab a beer with them and hang out.
Yeah.
And they're high capacity people, but their character just isn't there. Like,
Yeah.
we would never hire that person.
Sure.
I would much rather hire somebody that has character and capacity. That's like, hey, maybe this person isn't somebody that I would hang out with after work every night.
But I trust them.
But I trust them. Exactly. So we're looking at character, capacity, culture, and chemistry.
I like that.
In that order when we're hiring somebody. And that's so important because then, like, if you have character, I think a lot of times everything else falls in place, because the capacity, most of the time I can teach you. Like, if you have any, like, you can't be dumb, but like, but most of the time, like, I can teach you how to buy houses, or I can teach you how to analyze deals.
Here's an example. If they're an acquisition manager
Mhm.
and they don't know how to talk to people, I would say that's an area where, like, okay, well, capacity probably does better, because how well can I teach you to talk to people? I don't know.
Yeah. I even think I could teach you how to talk to people.
Really?
Yeah.
You think?
I couldn't teach you to be like a super energetic, fun person, but there's definitely scripts out there. Sometimes those are the best salespeople because they're following a script versus winging it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but I like, let's a better, I think, example of that, because I do think I could teach you to talk to people, but you were hiring you to be an accountant and you just are terrible. Like, then I would
Dyslexic,
not. Yes, exactly. Then I would not hire you, even though you fit the character, your capacity isn't there. But that's also why we use, so we have those 4 C's, and then we use the DISC assessment for everybody that we hire. So everybody goes through the DISC assessment, and we know, like, and I've gotten trained in the DISC before multiple times, where we know what positions are going to make people come alive and what positions it's going to just drain them.
Yeah.
And so, like, a very low I, a very low D, and a really high S and C, like, that's not somebody that's typically going to be an acquisitions manager. They're going to be
your assistant or an operator of some sort for you. Yeah.
In a high D and a high I, those are people that are going to be really great acquisition managers. You have to know that they're probably going to want to go out and do it on their own, but they're going to be really great acquisition managers. High C's, like, are always going to be really great at the analytical side of things, behind the scenes stuff. So you can, there used to be this saying, where, I think it's in the book Good to Great, where he talks about when they hire people, they just want to get the right people on the bus and then figure out their seat. I love Good to Great. Great book.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
That works for companies that have a lot of revenue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can spend a year trying to figure out where this person is. For us, that's not the case.
No.
And so for us, I'm like, I love that analogy. Like, let's get great people. But I also think that you need to get them in the right seat as soon as possible. Honestly, when you're hiring them, you want to get them in the right seat. And so the DISC assessment helps you do that, where it's like, hey, what job is suitable for this person?
Yeah.
So,
because you don't want to make roles for people.
No.
You want to put people in roles that you need.
Yeah. And I see that happen a lot. I've seen that happen in the church world and in other companies that I've worked with and for, is you hire on an incredible person who meets the character, meets the culture, meets the chemistry. They don't have the capacity there. And you love that person. And so instead of firing them, you spend 5 years putting them in different seats, trying to, like, this guy's so much fun. He's great for the team. He brings a lot of energy. He's, he works hard. We can trust him, but they just can't get the job done.
A business is not a family, though.
Mm-hmm.
Salesforce had this whole culture campaign they launched for all of their employees, and they called it Ohana. Okay, so one of the execs came to Hawaii, loved the culture of Hawaii, the ohana and all that stuff. Came back, we're like, hey, we're going to be enacting this for all of Salesforce. It's called ohana, and it means family. So everybody's like, oh, we're this big family. And they preached it everywhere they went, but it always felt awkward. And it was like this thing that didn't really fully make sense. And then their first wave of layoffs, when they laid off 10,000 people, everybody hated them.
Yeah.
Because they created a false expectation for what they were. And one of the best things I'd ever heard about a business culture is that it is not a family, because in a family, you don't have to work and do any tasks for me to love you and for us to have relationship. In a team, that's the highest priority, because within this business, the business is the God that provides you the ability to have a role, to have money, to be taken care of. So we're all sucking off of the life source of the business. So the moment that we are not adequate or filling our role in that business, you are no longer valuable to the team. Yeah. And so it's not personal, but you can no longer be on the team.
Yeah.
But while you're here, the culture is that we love you. It's kind, but also it is conditional. Mm-hmm. We're in a family, it's unconditional. Yeah. And so I think that is something that you do have to create within a culture too, because you don't want to set people up for false expectations. When I did 22 layoffs in our company in 1 week, I had people that were crying saying, I love you guys and I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm laying you off right now. Why are you? Yeah. They're like, this is the best place I've ever worked. And I'm like, gosh, and we rehired some of those people back, but it was because we never set them up for a false expectation for those things, which is one thing that I am proud of in their culture. But I think that's something when people are jumping into stuff, sometimes people go in with this like savior complex or like people pleaser mentality where they're like, I want to create this family scenario. I love everybody. Or it's the opposite where they have no love or community or family. And it's like, you have to find that middle ground in a company when you're starting to create that culture.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Because at the end of the day, like business is business.
It's a business.
Yeah. You can't not get stuff done and be around. So I think it's important to separate, like with my employees, if I ever had to fire them, I think that they would all know that like I love and care for them.
Yes.
Like outside of the business, like I love you, care for you, want to see what's best, like all of that. But in the business, it's just not
a fit anymore.
So
that's good. Dude, we went like way over a little bit.
Yes.
Like 10 minutes over. I thought this was good. I hope this was good for you guys listening or watching the episode today. I'll try and put the notes to skip past the 10 minutes of banter about basketball, which I honestly know nothing about really when it comes down to it.
Good old LeBron.
But yeah, guys, as usual, if you could just take a moment to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review if you're listening to the podcast. It's so helpful. Honestly, we're taking time to bring you guys valuable content if it is valuable, and I hope it is. And if you guys want to know anything about, deal flow and what we do there, you can go to dealflowrealestate.com and look into all of the resources we have. There's free resources there, just like the podcast. And there's also stuff you can look into if you want to book a call with our team and learn more about our mentorship stuff with Cam.
Love it.
Appreciate you guys for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.
Later.